Welcome to Ashmont University. I'm your professor today, Adam Ashba, and today we're going to be working on part 3 of the Columbus MLS training module. Now, part 3 is we're going to be diving into how to create and work maps. Within the MLS is a Google map that's within the dashboard, and you can highlight and play around with different layers to help create search criteria for your client. So stay with us. We're going to cover that topic right after this.
Here we go. I'm going to go to search, quick search. Again, I go search and quick search at the top of the screen up here. And once I get to this screen, notice we got the same quick search as we saw previously. I just click use at the bottom of the screen. Well, once I get to the search screen with the criteria on the left-hand side, that big blue number is there again, telling us the total number of matches. Don't forget you've got the little blue number over here at the top left-hand corner that I'm highlighting right now. Why that's significant is because you don't need to come to this screen first. You have to click on Map Search over here on the right-hand corner where I'm highlighting in order to get to the map search. Notice it says 6,462 properties currently match my criteria, which is the default criteria. And you can plot all 6,000 listings if you want to by clicking the click here button. That link right there. If I go ahead and click on that, notice all of those properties will be immediately placed on the map. Now, how useful that is? Not very, because there are so many of them. But remember, you can zoom in and out on the map and make it useful. So if you need to plot 6,000 properties, which is unrealistic, but what if you need to plot 200 or 300 properties? Is that a problem? Not at all, other than the zoom function that we're talking about right here. You're going to need to zoom in. So 2 ways to zoom in. One over here on the left-hand side is the plus and minus zoom bar. And notice you have the plus at the top and the minus at the bottom. When you zoom, it always zooms to the middle of the map. So you're going to want to move the map around. And this is where we're going to talk about some rules on map searching. And that is 1, move the target area to the middle of the map. For example, if the target area is Delaware City, it's kind of hidden by all these icons. But if I move Delaware City to the middle of the map, then when I click the plus sign or I click on the bar itself to a certain level, I can zoom in that way. And it will zoom to the middle of the map, always the middle of the map. But let me show you another way. Notice I'm going to put Delaware off to the top right-hand corner up here. And if I move my mouse wheel, my mouse pointer over Delaware, I'm going to put it kind of in North Delaware. Notice there's a scroll wheel on some mice, and that's the little wheel between the 2 buttons. Watch what happens when I scroll the mouse wheel. If I scroll it away from my body, it zooms in on the mouse pointer location, which approximately is Pennsylvania Avenue in Delaware City. Or I scroll it back toward my body and it zooms out from that location. So that's one way you can zoom, is with the scroll wheel on your mouse pointer. The other way is on the zoom bar, using the plus and minus buttons at the top to zoom always to the center of the map. Or you can click on the bar itself to zoom in and out to certain degrees. Now you can zoom way too far and way too fast if you click too far on the bar, so be aware of that. But keep in mind, you want to put the target in the middle of the map usually anyway. So, if your target area for your search is Delaware, then click and hold on the map, not on one of the green icons or the other colored icons. As you know, the icons will differ in color based upon their status. But when you click and hold on the map, put your target area for your search in the middle, and then either scroll the mouse wheel on that location or click the plus sign to zoom in. So zoom to an appropriate level is the first rule. That is, after you put the target area in the middle of the map. So first rule, target to the middle. Second rule, zoom to an appropriate level. Third rule, when you're creating polygons, put some padding on the outside edge. I equivalent this to changing the price. If your client is looking for up to $200,000, wouldn't you put a price range in your search of 205, 210, maybe a little more, and try to negotiate that price down? Same thing with a polygon. For example, if my client says they want to live north of Pennsylvania Avenue, and they want to live Troy Road all the way up here, and they want to go over to 23. So I'm going to create a polygon real quick here, and we'll get back to this in a minute. But click, and I'm left clicking each time I click, move the mouse, click. Now they said they wanted to go up as far as the bend in the river over there. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click. And to finish a polygon, again, we'll go over this again. You double click. The problem is I followed exactly what they said to do, which sounds like a good idea, but notice I ran right down the middle of Pennsylvania Avenue. If I zoom in a little bit there, notice Pennsylvania Avenue, what about the properties on the south side of the road? Well, they're not included. And what about the properties on the west side of Troy Road? Not included. What about the properties on the east side of 23? So my point being, you want to put a little padding on the edge because you may want to include the houses on the south side of the road, or maybe a couple of blocks in. They want to be around Pennsylvania Avenue. Maybe one block down is okay with them. You may want to have a discussion with your client about how tight those boundaries really are. Now, if they're saying they don't want to be east of the river, okay, fine, then go right down the middle of the river. And if it's a park or some other geographical boundary, then by all means follow that geographical boundary. But if they give you a street or a specific subdivision, you have to ask, do they care about which side of the street the property is on? And if not, then make your polygon a little wider. Now, I'll show you this again in a moment, but I'm going to fix this very quickly by clicking on the polygon shape, the gray or blue area here, and I click on Edit, and I click on Edit Shape. Now notice all the little nodes around the edge. Well, if I just drag those outside, I can fix what I've done here. And so I just make it a little wider outside the boundaries that we talked about just a moment ago. Now, I'm not going to fix the whole thing, but you get the idea. I'm going a little bit outside those boundaries because I have talked to my client and they do want ones on either side of the road. Now, 23 is not as important because it is a highway or a freeway, and so it's a lot wider expanse. But if you look down at Pennsylvania, they probably want to see those properties. Now, once I edit my polygon, I need to stop editing, and that's down at the bottom right-hand corner. Again, I'll show you how to edit a polygon again in just a moment. So I click Leave Edit Shape Mode. And that's our additional rule number 3, pad the outside edge of your polygon so as to include properties on both sides of the road. And don't zigzag through a neighborhood either. What I mean by that is if you do this, you're just randomly missing people who are on the outside of that polygon once you create it. Again, how do I delete a polygon? Well, first of all, you have to finish the polygon. What I mean by that is, this is one of the rules. If I start a polygon, it keeps following me every click. Now, you can't cross the streams like I'm doing here. That's not a good idea. But what if I get a polygon that's just won't stop following me? Well, you have to double click without crossing the lines, intersecting. You double click, and once you've double clicked and set the polygon in place, then you can delete it. And how do you delete it? 2 ways. You can click on it, you can click on Edit, and you can click on Remove. Or notice over on the left-hand side where I'm hovering my mouse right now, when you hover over a polygon, it turns yellow. You click on the X and you delete the polygon. So that's how you can delete polygons either way, by clicking the little X over there or by clicking on the shape itself. And as I said, don't overlap the lines of a polygon. And finish the polygon in order to delete it. So, one more thing I want to show you before we move on, though, is it's kind of cramped space here when you're trying to draw a polygon. So I want to give myself a little more space to work with. You don't have to, but watch this. See where I'm moving my mouse kind of up at the left-hand corner up here of the map itself? If I click that little triangle, that criteria section disappears. I click it again, it reappears. Click it, and what does that do? Gives me more space to work with on my map. Now you can include criteria or you can just include polygons just by clicking on the triangle to hide the criteria. And that doesn't turn the criteria off. For example, if you have bedrooms filled in, just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's not still active. Remember, you've got your little eye bubble up here to tell you what criteria is currently being used. And just because you've hidden the criteria doesn't mean you've turned it off. All right, so let's talk a little more about the map tools themselves. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you have 3 different tools. You have the rectangle, you have the radius, and you have the multi-facet polygon. You've also got this little tool and the little hand tool. Well, I want to go over each of those, as well as this push pin indicator on the right-hand side at the bottom, and this little chart right here, or this little color wheel. They all mean something. There's also buttons up at the top left-hand corner of the map, and I just want to go through those first. Now, I'm not going to map all of these properties. Watch this. I can switch through. This is the map view with the line drawings. Notice map is selected at the top right-hand corner. Now, if I want to switch to satellite view, I simply click on the satellite button over there, and that's what it does. Well, what does the overlays do? Well, first of all, I want to switch back to map view because the overlays are easier to see in map view. When you click on the Overlays drop-down menu, notice you've got Drawn Shapes and Listings. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and click to map all 6,400 properties, and there they are. Well, I'm zoomed in just to North Delaware, so they're just the ones that I see on the screen. But what if I want to go to Overlays and turn those off? I uncheck Listings, and they're gone. I go back and I turn on Listings. Or I go back and I turn on, wait a minute, I don't have any drawn shapes. So I'm going to draw a quick rectangle on the screen, and that selects only these properties north of Pennsylvania. But if I go to Overlays, Drawn Shapes, I can turn the polygon off. Now that's just temporarily making it disappear from the screen. Sometimes it makes it easier to see things that you're working with. But let's look at the rest of these overlays. Those are just the basic Listings and Drawn Shapes overlay that you get when you do your search. But if I go to Overlays and turn on Flood Zones, notice that's exactly what it shows on the screen, the flood zones. And notice this little icon that appeared down at the bottom right-hand corner, right beside the push pin. When I click on that, there is your legend for the colors that are visible on the screen for your flood zones. So again, once you turn on the flood zone overlay, this little flood zone icon appears at the bottom. What if I switch and I turn off flood zones and instead I use school districts? Well, now I need to zoom out, right? You need to zoom to an appropriate level for what you're searching. In this case, I'm not searching, I'm just viewing school districts. And there's the Delaware City School District, and there's the Buckeye Valley School District. And when you zoom out, you'll see the larger icons. But understand, these are not searchable. If you want to search for Buckeye Valley Local Schools, you would go to the left-hand side under School District and search for Buckeye Valley, or type it in. These are just a reference, a visual reference for where those overlays exist. And notice all the overlays that are available over here at the right-hand side. I've got school districts, and I've got subdivisions, and I've got parcels. Wait a minute, parcels didn't show up. Well, and what about this? What if I just keep turning them on? It turns into a mess, right? Well, you can do that. And you really don't want to have more than one on at a time, but you are allowed to have multiple parcels or multiple overlays on at the same time. Here's what I'm going to do, though. I'm going to turn on the parcel boundaries, and I'm going to zoom in. And why this is significant is parcel boundaries, again, zoom to an appropriate level. You're not going to be able to see parcel boundaries until you're zoomed way into the map, right? Because they're just too small. They're not like the large school district boundaries. Let me go back to school district boundaries for a moment. And once I turn those on, again, you got to zoom out. Same thing if I go and turn on, instead of school districts, I turn on zip codes. And I have to zoom out in order to see the zip codes because in some cases, in this case, it's even larger than the school district. So it just depends on what you're trying to do on the map of what zoom level you should use. And this whole time I've been using the scroll wheel on my mouse, but it works the same if you use the plus and minus on the left-hand side that we talked about already. Okay, so I'm going to put my search target back in the middle of the map here because I want to look at some more tools down at the bottom of the screen. First of all, I'm going to start over with a new search. So I'm going to go to search, and instead of going to quick search, remember we go to quick search, we choose one residential or whatever property type, we click use, and then we click on map search, right? Well, let me save you a step. If you go to search and go directly to map search instead, then when you click use for residential, it won't take you to that big blue number. It will take you directly to the map. So now if I want to zoom in on Delaware, I can just zoom in and immediately start drawing. I don't have to switch to map search because I'm already there. Now, how is that different? Not much really. It just saved you one click. You didn't have to click on map search because you already clicked on it under search, map search. Now, what happens if I click on quick search over here on the right-hand side? It takes you to the big blue number. And if I click on map search, it takes you back to the map. But as I said, going to search, map search saves you one step and takes you directly to map search. So we've looked at overlays. Let's look at the types of search. Now there are 3 polygons down here at the bottom and one more way to zoom. I told you the scroll wheel zooms in and out on the location of your pointer, the plus and minus on the left-hand side. You've also got this little green plus sign down at the bottom in the middle of the screen, middle of the map at the bottom. When I click on the green plus sign, you can draw a box. I'm clicking and holding my mouse button, left click, hold, drag, a red box around it, and it zooms in. Again, left click, hold, and drag around this neighborhood, and it zooms in. Now, it won't stop zooming because it stays in that mode. Notice down at the bottom there's that little white hand, that little white glove. When you click on that white glove, Then you go back into the pan mode where you can click on the map and drag it around, and you can use the normal zoom functions as before. Always remember that if you do switch into one of these other modes, like the zoom here, you can click on the white glove at the bottom to switch back to pan mode. Now, what about these other icons over on the right-hand side? What do they do? Well, the color legend shows statuses, or price, or square foot. Well, wait a minute, what does that mean? Well, let's go ahead and map a few properties. So I'm going to put in, let's just put in a polygon right here. I'm going to drop a polygon around this neighborhood. So I left click and release the mouse. I left click and release, meaning let go of the mouse. Then I move the mouse without holding down the mouse button, and I left click again. And that sets my polygon. Now notice it shows status, and it shows the color legend, as we mentioned, for the colors of the statuses. Or you can change it for the price. Or you can change it for price per square foot. So there's a color legend there as well. Well, I want to change that color legend back. So I'm going to go to the bottom right-hand corner to the color wheel, and I'm going to change it back to status. All right, so I'm in status here for color legend. I'm going to close that. But what about this little push pin locator? Well, let me clear my criteria. I'm going to start over. I'm going to go to search. I'm going to go to map search, and I'm going to go to one residential. Now it comes up to the map immediately and asks me if I want to see all 6,000 properties. I don't. Watch this. I want to zoom in on a specific property by address. At the bottom right-hand corner, the little push pin icon, the red push pin icon that I'm pointing to right now with my mouse. When I click on that, I can go directly to 2700 Airport Drive, Columbus, Ohio. Now when I click on locate, what that will do is jump directly to that property. And here it is. Now, once I get to that property, notice what the bubble says right above it. It says use this location. So I click use this location. Now it's saying, well, do you want to do a radius search around it? Do you want to see the street view or the bird's eye view, or do you want to remove the pin? Well, I'm going to go ahead and do a radius search. And this is a very easy way to target a property and then say, you know, I want to see all the properties for sale 0.5 miles around this radius or around this push pin. So I put 0.5, I put create radius. And now if I zoom out, notice what has happened here is that it has automatically created a half-mile radius. Did I have to use the push pin? Absolutely not. I could have just created a radius myself, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. But that's one way to do it, is the push pin radius at the bottom right-hand corner. Now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go to search, and I'm going to go to map search. And I'm going to use one residential again. This time I'm going to start with a radius around the intersection of 270 and 161 up in Dublin. So I'm going to zoom in on that location with my scroll wheel or with the plus and minus by moving the target area and then clicking the plus sign. And my client wants to live within about a half-mile radius of this intersection right here, off of 270, getting onto Post Road and France Road. So I'm going to do the intersection of Post Road and Bridge Street in Dublin. So I click on the radius, because if you're doing a distance from a target area, a target location, like their grandparents' house, their favorite shopping center, whatever it might be, you click on the radius, you left click on the target, release the left mouse button, and then move your mouse outwards. And notice it counts down the distance as you go out. So I'm going to go out just a little bit more, and there's half a mile. And I'm going to go a little bit more, because remember I told you earlier, put a little padding in your polygons so you don't miss anybody at the edge. So I'm going to go 0.6 miles, left click, release the mouse button again. And now I've got a radius around Post Road and Bridge Street in Dublin of a half mile, a little more than a half mile. Put some padding, remember? Now, what if they say they want to live just around Westerville somewhere? So I'm going to zoom out the map, either the minus or plus symbol on the left-hand side or the scroll wheel. Like I said, I almost always use the scroll wheel. And they just want to live in this vicinity, right up here around Polaris and Maxtown on this side of the lake. Okay, so I might use a rectangle. A rectangle is kind of a generic polygon. You can only do 4 sides. It's real simple. You left click, you release the mouse button and move the mouse. Again, I'm going to do that. That was a rectangle in this section, but watch, I can drop more than one polygon on the screen. Left click, release, move the mouse, left click, release. Again, I click on the tool at the bottom. I left click, release, I move the mouse, and I left click, release again. So now I've got 3 polygons where I really don't need 3, and my client doesn't want to live there. I just use those for an example. So I want to get rid of those extra polygons. Again, to delete a polygon, you click on it, you click on edit, and you click on remove. Or you simply hover over on the left-hand side and the polygon will turn yellow when it's highlighted, that means it's about to be deleted. So you simply click on the X beside it over here on the top left-hand corner. I hover over it. It highlights it in yellow. I click the X beside the one I want to delete, and it's been deleted on the map. All right, so now we've got 2 polygons on the screen. I want to add a third right here in Worthington. So I'm going to zoom in on Worthington. My client wants to live right here around Thomas Worthington High School. They like to go to the high school football games, and they like the atmosphere in the neighborhood around Old Worthington. So they want to live this neighborhood. Okay, so I click on the multi-facet polygon. And maybe they've been specific. They want to live exactly here. Remember, put padding on the outside edge of your street. They want to live on either side of 23. Okay, so I go a little bit more out here. Click, left click release, 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 left click. And how do I make it stop following me again? I double click. So double click the left mouse button and the polygon is set. But then your client says, oh, wait a minute, you know what? That's too far. We don't want to live that far west. We don't want to be that far close to the river. Okay, we can fix it. We don't have to delete it. Remember, you can click on it, click on edit, click on remove. We don't need to do that. Notice when I click on it and click on edit, there's another option here called edit shape. Well, another thing we can do is actually change the color of the polygon, but that doesn't change the functionality of the polygon at all. What I want to do is actually modify the shape. So I click on edit shape. Now there are nodes all around the edge, and there's a node in the middle. They're very important. The one in the middle lets you move the entire shape. Notice I click and hold on the node in the middle of the polygon, and it moves the entire shape. If I want to modify the shape of the polygon, I click and hold on the node that I want to move, and I drag it. I click and hold on the node that I want to move, and I drag it. I click and hold over here, just like my client requested, and I move to the east. And when I've got my polygon just the way I like it, just the way my client needs it, I click Leave Edit Shape Mode at the bottom right-hand corner. Notice the Leave Edit Shape Mode. Now that's the multi-facet polygon. How do I modify this rectangle over here? The exact same function. For example, they say that's way too big. We don't want to be that far north of Polaris. Okay. Again, you click on the shape, you click on Edit, and you click on Edit Shape. Again, node in the middle moves it. That's not what I need to do. I need to resize it. So I grab the node, top left, click, hold, drag downwards, and just north of Polaris. As long as my client approves that new location, I click Leave Edit Shape Mode at the bottom right-hand corner. One more, we've got that radius over here in Dublin. So I'm going to zoom in on that radius in Dublin. How do I edit? Same exact thing. Click on it, click on Edit, and click on Edit Shape. One node in the middle, one node at the edge. That's all you need for the radius. The node in the middle moves it. The node at the edge resizes it. Okay, and I click Leave Edit Shape Mode at the bottom right-hand corner to stop editing. And that is how you move and edit and create multiple polygons per screen. And remember, we've got all these polygons on the screen, but if we wanted to add criteria, we could do that. Because now we could go over to the left-hand side and say, you know, we only want ones that are less than $400,000, or maybe before or between $350,000 and $400,000. So now it's going to limit the number of properties that are found in our polygons. And we can put in half baths, and all of that criteria is going to be run simultaneously here. And once you've got all of your polygons on the screen, and you can also go up to Save. Now remember, we talked about saving searches. We will talk about saving searches as well. What we're doing here is when you click Save Search, you're going to save all that criteria at the same time. We're going to talk about saving searches in another video. I'm not going to get into that right now. But just understand that when you have criteria and you have polygons, it's all saved as criteria. It's all used as criteria. As a matter of fact, let's check our criteria. When you click the eye bubble at the top left-hand corner, notice it says Statuses, and it says Circle, Rectangle, and Polygon, and Price Range. It's dealing with all of it as just different types of criteria. All right, that's the end of our section here. Go ahead and do the exercises for this section if you'd like. You can pause the video right here. Create a radius polygon, create a rectangle polygon, and a multi-facet polygon with any shape you can imagine. Click the rectangle shape and edit it. Remember, when you click on the shape, you click on Edit and change the rectangle. And remember, always click Leave Edit Shape Mode at the bottom right-hand corner when you're done. And move a radius or move any polygon you'd like, and turn on a few overlays like school district just to get yourself familiar with the map. See you next time on Columbus Realtors MLS video training.